Okay, record. So welcome everybody. Here we are for our 10th in this celebratory process of celebrating the book Inside Out Transformation. I'm really pleased to be able to welcome Ken Manning, who is one of the contributors to the book. Great to have you here, Ken, and thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
And a special thanks for saying yes to my last minute request of asking if you would be willing to coach somebody live on the call today. It was one of those, we did this a few weeks ago with Gabriella Maldonado, and it was well received. And I did have, the thought kept coming to me over and over again, and for some reason I didn't react on it, and yet last night I decided to. So here we are, and I reached out to a couple of people who had been on the waiting list from last time, and both of them said yes straight away. So it was clearly meant to be, and I just needed to stop batting away the idea. So here we are. So before we get started, as always, I just want to introduce all of you to Ken officially. And for those of you who have no idea who Ken is, I'm going to read a little bit of his official bio, and you can find out more about him on the page as well. So Ken has been interested in finding simple solutions to help people be at their best for as long as he can remember. He pursued 3 degrees in psychology and practiced as a clinical psychologist for 20 years. In parallel to his career in psychology, Ken also has a strong background in business, and in 1999 he began innovating ways to bring insight principles into the corporate world, and joined with partner Robin Charbit to form their company Insight Principles. And he's also the co-author of a fantastic book called Invisible Power, which he wrote with Robin Charbit and Sandra Crott, who we had here a few weeks ago too. Brilliant book. So welcome, Ken. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Delighted to have you here. And just to set the table a little bit, the idea behind having a live coaching session, it's a demonstration really, but also Tamara, welcome Tamara, has volunteered and accepted and is taken the golden opportunity to be coached by you, Ken. And really it's a very mini sample of what it is to be coached from the inside out. And I know with the book that it's for coaches, it's for therapists, it's for counsellors, and in my heart I'm hoping that people bump into this who've never heard of the 3 principles, never heard of inside out coaching. So the idea behind this is that this is a great leaning into what that looks like. So if it's okay with Tamara, would you like to unmute yourself and just let's check we can hear you. And hi Tamara, nice to meet you. We don't know each other, so
no, we don't. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And just all I know is that you're in the UK, because I asked you about your time. So I think, is it okay, Ken, if we go for about 30 minutes, and then after the 30 minutes we'll open it up for questions. So all of you who are here on the call and listening live, feel free to, I don't know if it's a good idea to turn your cameras off to give this, the coach and the coachee some privacy, maybe. It looks like privacy. Ken's open for questions afterwards. So as observers, we're all going to be quiet, and I'm gonna hand it over to you, Ken, now to take over the coach.
Okay, so just wondering, hi Tamara.
Hi Ken, pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Where are you?
Just outside London, towards Surrey, just inside the M25.
Nice.
What about yourself?
I'm outside of Boston, a town called Sudbury.
Oh, I'm in Sunbury. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's 90 degrees here today. How is it there? Which is about 31, 32, something like that.
Yes, I think it's 29, 30. It's warm here too.
Yeah. Well, so what can I do for you today?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I came to the 3 principles, or I was introduced to the 3 principles recently. I've been suffering with long COVID since September last year, and signed off work since April. So I was introduced to the 3 principles via another long COVID sufferer who sent me thriving in the eye of a hurricane. And then I read a number of Sid Banks books and a number of other books. So I guess I'd be interested to see, I think I'm already making a lot of progress with the symptoms that I've got by understanding the brain, the body-mind connection. But yeah, just be interested in kind of any advice, or have a bit of a conversation. I'm keen to kind of make progress and get back into the workplace, and sometimes I'm still struggling with fatigue and brain fog and worry, I guess, a little bit of going back to work, and because I yo-yoed quite a bit, so I had peaks and troughs while I was at work. So once I came back from having COVID, I was back for a few weeks, and then I was struggling, and so I was up and down, peak and trough. So yeah, I've been out for some time and starting to feel a little bit better and hopeful to go back into the workplace, relatively soon. But there's some kind of nervousness there about, if I go back, am I going to be well enough? Am I going to end up in that same position? I don't know if that was the sort of thing you were expecting somebody to bring to you, but it's just what's on my mind.
Well, suppose our conversation was really helpful to you. What would the result be? What would really helpful look like?
Wellness, really, feeling more well and more confident.
So wellness of the mind?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's only, yes, wellness of the mind. Obviously the body, I'd love to be completely fit and healthy again. Some of the symptoms that have been hanging around are probably physical, so they're not just going to go straight away. I don't expect the conversation to puff and make everything go, but yeah, wellness within the mind, I guess, would be a good start.
Well, suppose your body continued to have its ups and downs, or your energy level had its ups and downs. What would it be like to be solidly mentally healthy in the face of that?
It's a good question, and I feel like I've been making progress towards that. It's almost accepting his acceptance that you're going to have those peaks and troughs. I think it would take some of the pressure off to just be accepting of what is, and not put anything on it, I guess.
All right, so if you had acceptance and you didn't put anything on the ups and downs of your energy level, what would the mental experience of that be like?
Balanced, I think, and not stressed by whatever the outcome is.
Yeah, so if you're balanced and not stressed, what qualities of mental functioning and mental experience would you have?
I think more clarity potentially. I know it's difficult with brain fog, which is one of the things that I have, which can make things cloudy. But yeah, I think clarity.
So clarity. So tell me more about clarity. What's your experience of clarity? What's it like?
I guess being able to see and think clearly without things being cloudy.
Okay. And what does it feel like? What's the feeling of it? What's your emotional state when you're clear like that?
I think peaceful.
Peaceful.
Yeah.
And is there a sense of something else like in that space of peace? Is there sort of a feeling that tends to come for you in that space of peace?
Feeling. I'm not sure I can put my finger on it, but I think feeling. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to put.
Was it a pleasant feeling?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Is it a happy kind of feeling, or is it a joy or a
Yeah.
loving kind of feeling?
Yeah, I think probably a mixture of all of those.
Yeah, okay. Right now, would it be possible to have that feeling when your mind is not clear?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, so can you give me an example of what would a moment of brain fog with that peaceful, nice feeling be like?
Okay, so typically when my brain is foggy and I'm struggling, it's the feeling is worry or confusion or
Right.
yeah. So
But are there other times where your brain is not working the best,
yeah.
but you're okay?
Yeah, when I sit in the garden, we have a nice area in the garden, and sometimes when I'm feeling like that, I just take myself away. So there is nothing to think. There's no, just take myself away from and put myself in that situation.
Yeah. So when
Yeah.
you're not putting pressure on yourself and your brain is not at its best, it's okay. It's just, a moment of life, and it's okay, and it's peaceful and it's pleasant.
Yeah, and I think it's that acceptance again. It's okay. It's not that you've maybe dropped into a more difficult place, but actually it's okay, and yeah, things will stabilize.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So you're capable of having a peaceful heart and a calm mind, even when your energy is low and your brain is a bit foggy.
Yeah.
That's good to know, isn't it?
Yeah. I think sometimes just taking time as well, like just taking time to center yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So if it's possible for you to have that sense of inner peace and good feeling, why don't you have it all the time?
Yeah, that's my that's my question to you. Why don't I take it with me all the time? Yeah, I'm trying, I'm learning.
Well, it's more of a technical and philosophical question. So I'm speaking to you as a professional colleague, okay?
Yeah,
Why is it that you can't have it all the time?
I guess I can.
Okay, so you can, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so what do you actually believe that?
I think there's a part of me that is holding on, is not quite fully committed to it, if I'm honest, as you questioned that.
Well, that's not what I asked you. I asked you if you really, in your heart of hearts, do you actually believe it? Whether you can do it in practice is another conversation, but
Oh,
right,
yeah, no, I do
right,
believe it. Yeah, I do.
okay, you really do believe it. Okay.
Yeah.
So then if you really let's keep that on the table. You really do believe it.
Yeah.
Right? So what is it that gets in the way?
I guess life and thoughts and things.
Well, if you have that peace and that capability to be in those pleasant feelings on the inside, regardless of your energy levels,
Yeah.
is there anything on the outside that can interfere?
No. Yeah. No, not really.
Okay, so then what is it that interferes?
I don't know.
Well, you said thoughts, your own thinking is kind of the culprit, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now the short answer is going to be cut it out. But,
I am
yeah,
learning to watch the thoughts go by and accept them.
yeah. But some of them kind of get you by the throat,
Yeah.
or they get you by the mind, right?
Yeah.
And they drag you down, right?
Yeah.
Right. So while you and I are talking about this together right now, can you see that the only power that exists to take you out of your pleasant, peaceful place is the power of your own thinking?
I do. Yeah.
You can see that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Okay.
So how does that feel to you to see that?
I can't think of the word that I want to use. I think relief, maybe, because it's something that you can learn, you can control. So it's not something that's outside that you need to worry about. It's something within your control.
Yes, the power is on the inside to do something about this.
Yeah.
So it's not desperate. It's just maybe confusing.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's accepting the thoughts that come through, or maybe not spending too much time with them, and in some instances just leaving a little bit of space for insight into some of the thoughts. Essentially.
Yeah. All right. So this, I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then let me make a point first. Then I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. Right.
Okay.
So the point is the following: when when a lot of people first learn the principles, they get an initial idea that the problem is the thinking. And they have a lot of immediate benefit. It's easy to clear up a lot of your thinking.
Yeah.
Then there's the stickier thinking, like worry. And what people try to do is they try to manage their thinking. Except it's not very effective with the stickier mental habits. So we find ourselves in our mental habits trying to push the thoughts away or ignore them or breathe through them or tell ourselves that it's not real. And it doesn't seem to really get to the heart of the habit.
Yeah.
Right? You with me so far?
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so here's a little bit about me. So I grew up in a family of world-class worriers.
Mm.
I figured worrying was what you do in life. That was the purpose of life, was to worry. So I worried for 40 years until I learned the principle.
Yeah.
I didn't know I had no idea that it was possible to not worry. Now I had moments when I wasn't worried and I felt great. And then I thought, well, this is really great, but this isn't real. Because there must be something to worry about. So you know how hard it is to find something to worry about? You just go from here to here. It's not, you don't have to go very far. You just, So anyway, so for a while I was working on not worrying. Probably similar to what you were describing. And then at some point, I happened to be in a really good space for a reasonable period of time, which was probably a day or two. And then I started worrying. I started going back into my habit of seeing things in a sort of a heavy way.
Yeah.
And I just saw what I was doing. I just saw it. Now, I didn't think about it. I didn't try to do anything about it. I just saw it.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, now that's interesting. I can see myself doing the worry thing. And I can see myself making myself feel bad. I just saw it. And it seemed to melt away. So I wasn't fighting it or working it. It just seemed to go away. It seemed to melt away.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was good for a while, and then it happened again. And I got really caught up in that. And then I relaxed again at some point, and then I was good for a little while, and then I saw it. And I just saw it. I didn't work it. I didn't try to talk myself out of it. I just saw it. And it seemed to melt away again. And that started to become a habit for me. Instead of working it, I was just seeing it. And each time I would see it and it would sort of melt away, I got more confidence, or I got more faith that I could live without being under the gloom of it all the time.
Yeah.
Am I making any sense to you?
Yeah.
So I'm curious what you're hearing and what I'm saying.
What I'm feeling while you're saying this is, you know, the worries were coming up, and you catch yourself and look at that, recognize that you're worrying about something, and almost it falls away. The worry is falling away, and you kind of it happens again, and then it's falling away again.
Yeah, beautiful. And the subtler aspect of what you're saying is there's a difference between working your thinking and just seeing it for what it is. That's the subtlety. And that's where the power is. It's in the seeing it, not the working it.
Yeah.
So in my case, the working it was another form of worry. Because I would see myself worrying, and then I would worry, oh crap, I'm going to be stuck in this worrying, so let me figure it out. So it's kind of like the worry was trying to work the worry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't work very well.
No.
You see, the thing is that we have the power to make anything up in our mind that, you know, we want. Or we have the power to have anything be made up in our mind that we don't want by habit. But it's the power of it that we want to see. The content, the specifics is not where the action is.
Yeah.
It's very subtle, but that's the power is in being able to see it.
Mm. Yeah. I think a lot of not initially knowing what to, you know, what to bring to you, what to discuss. I think the underlying is worry, is and was worry. You know, it's worry when I'm going to be better, worrying. You know, there's only obviously you know, you're not working, you don't have the money to pay the bills, so when am I going to get better? When? So I think a lot of what's been clouding has been worry.
Well, now I don't know about you, but in my case, there was a deeper, more subtle and more insidious problem underneath the worry, which is this chronic, nonstop evaluating of myself and my life and how I'm doing.
Yeah.
And the worry is like icing on the cake on top of that one.
Yeah. I think we can be much harsher on ourselves than we are anybody else.
Especially when our energy gets low.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, there came a time for me when I saw that that's just thinking and that I'm doing that to myself all the time.
And that's got to be compounding the tiredness and the fatigue, but just because of the weight.
It's nasty stuff.
Mm. Yeah.
So I get the image of you, low energy with some brain fog, sitting in the garden and not worrying and not evaluating. And it's got a really nice feeling to it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It feels like sunshine and
Yeah.
smiles.
Yeah. Right, so I'm going to ask you what I asked you before. Is it possible for you to live your life that way?
It is, yeah.
So what is it? What would it take?
Less worry, less thoughts. Not less thoughts, just letting them be.
And not evaluating everything so much.
Yeah.
So take a couple minutes right now and just imagine your ordinary life with its ups and downs without evaluating all the time. What would that be like?
Calm, peaceful, happy.
Can you just take a minute and feel that and just sort of imagine that and sort of, take a moment and reprogram your world to imagine that's how you actually do life?
Feels lighter.
It's nice to know you tomorrow.
Likewise, Ken. Thanks for taking the time.
You're most welcome.
Wow, thank you so much, both of you. I felt very privileged to have been a witness to that interaction. And Tamara, thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing with us in front of everybody. I know that that's not the easiest thing to do always.
Yeah.
So I really, really appreciate that you're willing to put yourself forward for that. Thank you so much. And Ken, yeah, there's a question come through. I'll ask you that in a second. There's an art and a science to coaching, and I think we've just had a fabulous demonstration of both those things. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Yeah. So I want to open this up for everybody who's here to ask any questions that you have. I'll start off by an anonymous question. somebody has asked, but what about the bill she has? I don't know if that's a question for tomorrow or if that's a question for Ken, really. Yeah, it's an interesting.
Well, is that a question about its relevance to the conversation that we had?
I don't know. The question just says, what about the bill she has? So maybe whoever sent that question through could maybe qualify it a little bit for us. And in the meantime, Spiro, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
Thank you. Thanks, Kent and Tamara. That was, as I said, that was I was tearing up at the end because I was feeling it, and I think I felt tons lighter with her at the same time, and that was beautiful. Kent, you said something. You said a lot, but realize that when I got learned the principles and all that, like I was so aware of my thinking, right? Like a lot of it was just saying, oh yeah, I'm just thinking good, bad, ugly. It's just, it's thought. But the second part of what you said really hit me. Like when I was aware of it and more into the principles, I started scoring my thinking. That makes sense. Like you said, you called it sticky. I called it stinking, like stinking thinking. Some of it just stunk and sticks with it. And I think it was this. I love this book. This is just fantastic. I cannot tell you, just from all the different people that I've met and known in this program and seeing all the differences. But I think it was Dick, and I think said something, and it's funny. I read it to my husband, and it didn't mean anything to him, but it meant something to me. And he said something to the effect of, feel comfortable with being uncomfortable. I was just like, what? I'm supposed to be in a state of total nirvana, and I can't imagine like tomorrow, physically when I'm ill or not feeling good, and then having thoughts, you can see the wave sometimes crashes farther, right, and bring it back. But could you talk about, I guess that's kind of what I got from the second part of, as the beginning was, like, I just keep thinking I'm like evaluating and scoring my thinking. And then when I'm in that frame of mind, I start thinking, well, my husband's having a shitty moment. Like he must be really into some really deep thoughts instead of just, just seeing it. I don't know if that makes any sense or.
Well, Spirit of the Mind is a tricky place. And it's got all of these programs and skills. For those of us who have self-awareness, some of us have too much self-awareness, that we think about our thinking rather than see our thinking for what it is. And to see something is more powerful, but in a way it's subtler. And the subtlety eludes most people. That's the tricky thing. So, if you look in the refrigerator, let's say, and you see 9 different things you could eat. Well, your mind starts thinking about what do I want to eat? Do I want to eat that? How's it going to feel? Those, what are the? But you're not seeing it anymore. You're thinking about it all.
Mm-hmm.
You're walking down the street and there's a beautiful garden, right? You let yourself see it for about a half a second. And then you think about, oh, this, maybe I should plant that, get some of those. They did such a nice job. There's a mess over there. They should do some weeding. The mind is busy making stuff up. And it clouds the have the power to just see our mind and what it's doing. We have the power to just see our thinking. And when you can stand in that place, your options are infinite compared to trying to think about your thinking. And in that space, all of the beauty and richness of your soul and your heart and the goodness of life and the goodness in you gets to flow through that space. And it's not a thinking, it's the intelligence of life coming through us. But we don't stop, we don't look for that space of seeing. We just want to think about everything because that's what we're in the habit of doing. And you don't need a whole lot of that moment of seeing for your system to get back into a healthy state.
Mhm.
We can't think our way. Oh, Spiro, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that's what occurred to me.
Yeah, because I always say it's the feeling, and if I'm thinking too much, because you said I go back to some of the habits of analytical thinking and measuring instead of saying, okay, the feeling's kind of washed away, and then feeling that moment again of happiness and clarity, and like it just the pendulum just swings without me doing anything. It goes back to a center. So,
Well, any other questions?
yeah,
Anybody else?
that's,
I've had a little bit more on the question before. So the point is, I think it's a real world problem, not an inside in problem. The fact that tomorrow would still have bills to pay. That's the qualification of the question.
Well, there's the physical reality, and then there's the mess we make of it in our heads. There's still bills to be paid, and still COVID to recover from. That's still there. But the power of the mind is always something we're using well or we're using badly. And we can be present to a difficult situation and get wisdom and insight. Or we can make ourselves crazy with worry and bad judgment. We can't prevent ourselves from having difficulty in life. There's going to be difficulty in every life. But the question is, how are you going to use your mind to be in relationship with it? And that was the conversation that we had with Tamara. It wasn't about whether she has bills to pay or not. It was about how is she using her mind in the face of having bills to pay.
I think maybe just to add to that, Ken, when you're worrying and you're unable to see clearly in your mind, any potential solutions are really difficult to find. Whereas when you're calm, there are still bills to pay, but there's solutions as to how things that you might do to help ease those. And I think when your head is full, you don't see them. So there is still bills to pay. But you can think, okay, I hadn't thought about that. I can speak to the bank. I can. So I've already had moments where I've calmed everything down and thought, okay, yeah, I can speak to the bank. they do mortgage breaks and things like that. Okay, I can do that. So things do calm when you give space from the worry.
Great.
Thanks, Tamara. Thank you for adding that piece in. And does anybody else have any questions? Don't be shy.
Any questions about coaching
Mhm.
or helping people from this principles perspective?
If nobody has anything, I mean, I know you go into corporates a lot, Ken. You work with businesses and big, you know, Fortune 500 companies. Would you like to just share? We've got about 10 minutes left. Would it be okay if nobody has anything to ask about the coaching per se, just to talk a little bit about that, how that works for you, how it works for the companies, really? Yeah.
Well, actually, Tamara answered that question beautifully.
Tamara answered the question.
Yeah, she answered it perfectly. You know, she said, when you're worried, your mind is clouded, and when you're calm and clear, you get the answers. Well, that's basically what we teach people in business. And you know, in business, people are so trained and in the habit of being super busy minded with so much stuff to get done that they never take the time to just relax and clear, get into a more spacious feeling, so they can see the bigger picture and get the insights. Instead, they're pushing really hard like a freight train in 9 different directions and going lots of places they don't need to go, doing lots of work they actually don't need to be doing, creating projects that are actually not on track or not useful or not productive, getting other people involved and creating lots of work for lots of people that in the end needs to be redone or fixed or cleaned up, because people aren't stepping back and looking in the bigger picture. So we go in and we basically explain that to people, and then we teach them the principles as deeply as we can so that they can really see it for themselves in real time. And then we have them bring a really big business challenge to mind in conversation. So the 20 or 25 people in the room have this big problem they've been trying to solve. And within an hour or a day and a half, they solve the problem that they thought was going to take years to figure out. And it's not because we helped them brilliantly come up with the answer. They just got all the noise out of the system, looked right into the heart of the matter, and was able to come up with the insights that they needed. And we've done this hundreds of times. So it's really a joy to do it. So I could say a lot more about that, but that's the essence of it. And it's pretty much what everybody does in their private life, whether they're aware of it or not. You have a problem, you relax, and then you really relax, see things in the bigger picture, and you realize, oh, it's not quite the problem I thought it was. It's just this. There's the solution. Okay, let's move forward.
Mm-hmm. It sounds so simple, Ken.
It actually is really simple.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how we just don't see it, right? Like, you know, when you were coaching tomorrow, you were talking about seeing versus working at it. And I think for me, that feels so key, is that, yeah, it's this ability that we have, this power that we have to see, to be aware of, that we overlook all the time. And that's enough to, as you were pointing out, is enough to let the system settle down. Carol has her hand up. Carol, would you like to speak to Ken?
Yes, thank you so much for this, Ken, and tomorrow is wonderful. I guess I have a question really about, as you, Tamara had somewhat of a basis for, if you will, for the principles. But you talked about how, when you're first introduced to the principles and you're learning, or you're, beginning to understand them, that you're tend to be somewhat intellectual about it, or at least for me, my experience was that I was very much in my head, and I was like, oh yeah, I get this. And then as you spoke, I'd kind of grabbed onto the whole idea of thought and how do I manage that and everything else. So I'm just curious if you could speak at all about when you do these workshops and you're introducing people who perhaps have no former understanding of the principles. How do you kind of more quickly move them through that phase of being very, very much in their head about it, such that they can get to the point where they can truly, have that enough of an understanding that they can get to that place where they have clarity and things like that. So I don't know if I'm clear in terms of my question, but it feels like there's something that perhaps you can do to accelerate that, because I know for me, it took months of listening and reading and all these other things to kind of move through that. And it felt as though it was a necessary part of my evolution in the understanding.
Mm. Well, it's a great question. I'd say there's an art to it, and there's skill to it, and then there's knowledge. So on the knowledge front, the principles is a framework of understanding. That is a paradigm change for most people. And you have to spend a little bit of time giving people that basic knowledge. Now, some people are intellectual types and they like to hang out in knowledge. They go slower. Because they'll have a lot of questions. But for them, you just really want to give them the best knowledge they can have. Because at some point they will relax and just start seeing it in real life outside of their mind. And then some people are less intellectual, and they get it more at a feeling level. So for them, you just try to be in as deep and spiritual a feeling as you can be while you're sharing the knowledge with them. And then you have to watch really carefully to see when to stop talking and let them digest, and really encourage them to drop into a deeper feeling than they're used to. When it comes to teaching groups, that's a whole other story. We have a training program that we do for people who want to bring this to groups or to businesses. So we have a basic course and an advanced course and then a mentoring course, and those are coming up in the fall. So if any of you want to know about that, I can tell you more about that. But it's an art and a skill that you cultivate over time in your sensitivity and your skill in being with people with this understanding. So am I answering your question, Carol?
Yeah, I think you are. And I think, perhaps it's the training that you're talking about, because I've done, prior to my understanding of the principles, I had done group facilitation, and there was just, and it was usually around transformation or change management or that kind of thing. And so there were techniques, if you will, that we used to kind of move a group through, to a point. So I think, that perhaps, I mean, you answered in terms of some of what I was trying to understand with regard to the individual. And then I think, perhaps looking into the groups, because there is, I think there's probably some similarities, but I think there's some, things to be learned in terms of, facilitating that group and them moving through it. But I appreciate the answer. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Carol. That was a really good question. And just to say that I have experienced a day in the UK with Robin, and it's sort of an introductory day to the trainings that you're talking about, and it was excellent. We talked about the mechanics of the mind, and I always remember the word "the skinny." That was something that I learned on that day, which was great. So Ken, thank you again so much for being here. Somebody said they did the 3-day program with Ken and Robin. It was fabulous, very powerful. So there you go, another testament. So where can people get in touch with you? Where do we send them?
Well, for some reason our website is not connecting very well. We're exploring that, but maybe what I can do is I can write a little note to you, Sheila, and you can forward it to everybody and let them know about the program, the basic program, the 3-day, and then the advanced program. I'll send you an email about that.
Great. I'll send that out with the recording tomorrow, if that's possible. Brilliant. Right, well, thanks everybody for being here. Thanks again, Tamara. It was lovely to be able to witness that coaching session. Really grateful, Ken, for your time and
thank
professional.
You. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everybody. See you next week, I hope. We've got the fabulous Judy Sedgman next Tuesday, same time, same place. Hope to see you then. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks, Tamara. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.